They say you have to take the good with the bad. I guess I'm going to try to talk about that on this segment of the Gig Geezer. If this is your first time checking out the Gig Geezer, if you're a returning visitor of the Gig Geezer, thanks for coming by. And if you would, thanks for coming by. And if you would not mind, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. By the time this segment of the Gig Geezer come out, I will have been operating this van for at least a year. And I will have a segment of the Gig Geezer that talks about the 1-year anniversary of my owning and operating this Sprinter/cargo van. But what I want to share with y'all in this segment is leading up to that 1-year anniversary. So what I want to share with you in this segment of the Gig Geezer is what's leading up to the 1-year anniversary. And that's going to involve the days of December 13 and December 14. Today is December 15, 2023, and I am documenting documenting what transpired yesterday, December 14, and what was done on December 13. I will actually officially segue into that portion later into this segment. Hopefully I haven't lost y'all. And by the way, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer and any other segment of the Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. Well, I said in the teaser, taking the good with the bad. And yesterday was probably characteristic of all that. How did I take the good with the bad? Well, here in the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area, this is a college town. It is dominated by the main university, which has more than 35,000 students, and it is among the state's largest employers. And the students went home last week. And so what's happening now is that with the holidays coming upon us, there's already been a flow of those employees who may be on gig apps that have flooded the streets. And come next week, when the schools let out, you're going to have the teachers and the other school employees who are on the apps come out and flood the market even more. That's just the way it is. But that said, I have been sharing in recent segments of the Gig Geezer how things have really been challenging. And this week has been no different. This month has really been no different. If I shared in this segment of the Gig Geezer how the businesses, my businesses, earned revenues are projecting to be the lowest since May. We're talking about maybe hitting 8,000 this month. 8,000 is probably going to be a win. 9,000 may be worth celebration. It's just been that way. But let me move forward since I'm about 4 minutes into this segment of the Gig Geezer. I mentioned both the good and the bad. Well, yesterday started out really with not much of any opportunities appearing on the load boards. And so that meant me going to the ground game, turning on the gig food delivery apps, and with an eye for the last mile delivery apps. And so what happened was the day started out with an Instacart that paid $23 and change, I think $23.28. And then I had a last mile delivery opportunity that ultimately paid $36.58. Well, as I was driving to the last mile delivery opportunity, my daughter calls me. And if anybody has followed the Gig Geezer for any time, I have mentioned a lot about my daughter. I mean, there are those who know me, know the relationship that exists with me and my daughter. There are those that know me, know that I'll just put it like this. When I would go to my daughter's schools when she was in school, all I had to do was show up, and kids would take off running, yelling for my daughter, "Your dad's here! Your dad's here!" People. If I walk into a room and my daughter was there, people would know that they would run to her and tell her that her father's there. That is just as simple as that. But I'll also say this too. From my perspective of life, You know, it's a good thing when you have a relationship with your child as you do. She's my only child, but at the same time, I mean, she's gone through school, she's earned a master's, she's completed a year and a half working towards a doctorate, and at this stage in life for her, she still calls me up. She calls me up as she does. Um, that it's a proud thing to know that you have a relationship with your child as you do. Um, that said, she called me up yesterday, telling me that she was driving to the emergency room. Now that was reason concern for me because it's the second time this week that she said that she's had to go to the emergency room. The first time she complained of ear pain, um, thought maybe it was an ear infection. Uh, they told her that it was possibly vertigo. Now, just a week before that, she had COVID, and it was for the third time. She was able to return to work, and for her to go back to the emergency room a second time, she was complaining of headache, real bad headache, some dizziness, and some nausea. That had me concerned, and I literally stopped what I was doing and told her that I'll be driving back towards downtown. I knew exactly the emergency room that she was going to, which ironically was the hospital that she was born in, and is literally around the corner from my office. So I talked her in. I talked her to talked her to where she could go park in the parking lot of the office building where I have an office, and she stayed on the phone the entire time. Meanwhile, I couldn't get to downtown fast enough. My concern was that she would be able to make it to the emergency room under her own ability. So I got there minutes after they took her in back. In fact, all I did was I wrote her name and date of birth on a sheet of paper, and they're like, okay. And I think I will go as far as to say, maybe selfishly speaking, she recalled my daughter, then she looked at me, and yeah. And but what was ironic about going there yesterday, I spent about an hour or so there with her until the doctor kind of came to somewhat of the conclusion that what she was dealing with were post-COVID symptoms. Some of it could be vertigo, some of it could be migraine, which she had. They gave her fluids, they gave her medication, and she seemed to be better when I last spoke to her yesterday afternoon. But the irony of going to that hospital yesterday was the last time her and I were together in that hospital, I was bringing her home for the first time. So not the way you want to meet up with your daughter though, but it did bring back memories. In fact, the famous three words that I'm known for when she was born was, "Where's my daughter?" And I've shared that experience before though, but very quickly what had happened was I was on assignment up in Maryland covering the Clemson Maryland basketball game the day that she was born. And so when I flew back to Greenville Spartanburg Airport the next day, I drove straight from Greenville Spartanburg to downtown Columbia to the hospital where she was at. I get up to the maternity room where her mother was. I didn't see her. And first thing comes out my mouth, "Where's my daughter?" So, and I've always said though, the moment I said, "Where's my daughter?" that I've been on the clock ever since. So enough said there. I'm gonna just go ahead on and share what was earned yesterday and just where I'm at and all. All together, I earned $214.53. All together, I earned $214.53. Managed to kind of piece together a day. Not the type of day that I wanted to have, not the type of day I needed to have. It brought the business revenue earned for the month to $3,717.94. With today being the 15th, hopefully, I'll have a decent day, but it doesn't look like it because I've already started the day having missed a opportunity where apparently I got beat out by a thirsty with a shameful, sickening, much lower bid. But that said, I am probably anywhere between $1,000 and $1,500 off pace because of the way things have gone this month. My best day this month so far was last week, Friday, December 8, 2023. In fact, it was on this segment of the Gig Geezer, in which I earned just a tick over $400. I've had one $400 earnings day this month. The rest have been $200 and $300 day earnings, aside from December 13th, which I'm about to segue to, in which that was just a half a day. Let's just say that my entering into the 1 year anniversary of the ownership and operation of this van, it is not my taking any kind of a victory lap. If anything, I'm laboring and struggling to reach the finish line because of how things have really kind of slowed down and died off this month. And if I were to refer to a conversation that I've had with CEO, he often jokingly says, "This is not a test. This is not a test. This is reality. This is actually happening. This is an actual event. In other words, this is real." I'm starting off this segment of the Gig Geezer by actually jumping tracks a little bit. As I'm documenting this particular portion of this segment, it is Wednesday, December 13th, 2023. And I'm probably about 15 minutes removed from having replaced, well, the tires were replaced earlier this afternoon, but having rotated and mounted my own tires on my van. Why did I have to do that? Well, yesterday, Tuesday, December 12th, 2023, I decided to rotate the right side of my tires. In fact, as you see here on the inset, it took me 10 minutes to do that, rotate the front to back on the right side. And upon leaving where I was, the location that I was, I got no more than 10 minutes away from that particular point. And as I made a right-hand turn into a neighborhood, I bumped up against the curb, and as what I found out just seconds later, blew the tire. Yeah, bumped tire against curb. Wasn't going really that fast, maybe breaking down to about 20 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour tops. Blew out the tire. And so I had to put spare tire on. And so I don't like driving around without a spare tire. I had to do that a couple months ago. In fact, what had happened was I was on a run from Sumter, South Carolina down to Jacksonville, and I'd just gotten into Florida, and for the life of me, I ran over a road hazard at 70 miles an hour, and within seconds was over an emergency lane on the left side on I-95, having to put on a spare tire. And so that was my first experience with that in this van. And again, I just don't like driving around without a spare tire, especially when you're conducting business. You just don't know what's going to happen. And so about 30, 45 minutes later, I called the place that I'd gotten the previous sets of tire. In fact, I'd shown segments of the Gig Geezer, at least the first time I changed tires. And then I think I mentioned it in a subsequent segment of the Gig Geezer around summertime, where I had replaced those tires because I forgot, because I failed to do front end alignment, and that caused the tires to wear much faster than they should have. So this set of tires that I have, at least two of the tires that I have been wearing pretty good. But it just so happened the right front is starting to wear a little more than it should. And so what I was going to do was at some point rotate them out, and then perhaps, hopefully, if I just keep rotating them, I get to February and then replace all the tires. Well, I was forced to get 2 tires today, to order 2 tires. And the reason for getting 2 tires is that what I wanted to do was my spare tire that you see here on the inset, I wanted to get that one back up under the van, and then have full tires, full newer tires, or just full tires that I'm more comfortable with being on the van. And so that's what I did. Now, interestingly, I know I'm spending about 5 minutes explaining this, but I'm going to get into this segment of the Gig Geezer. Interestingly, I had to buy another vehicle jack. Reason why I had to buy another vehicle jack, I wanted to do that. In fact, I'd shared with my queen and with a friend of mine that I wanted to get a jack, but I didn't want to spend the money on the jack because the last jack that I got it on sale for like $99, but that was several years. That was like almost 4 years ago. Well, we know how prices have gone up. Well, I got this jack for $159, and I'm glad that I did when it's all said and done. This morning, before I took the tires down to the shop, me being Mr. Smarty, Mr. Smartass, took the bar out of the jack, and so it locked up. Now, I have done it before where somehow I was able to fandangle getting the jack to let down, but in that particular position where it was up under the van, I didn't want to go through that. I just didn't want to go through that. So I gladly paid what amounted to was $172 for a new jack. And as you see here, I was able to get it up under the van, lift it up just slightly so that the other one can come out. And then the goal was, the end goal with getting a second jack anyway, is if I'm in a position where I have to rotate tires or I have to do something that involves a tire or tires on both the front and rear axle, now I got two jacks and I don't have to do the one for one type of deal with one jack. I can lift the other one up some way, somehow, and it takes a lot less time. That's what the guys do when you go to the tire shop. The guys who do the quick tire repairs, they use two jacks, and makes the job a lot easier. Is that some people may want to know what was the cost? What was the cost? And so, as you see here on the inset, it was $315 to replace two tires. The last set that I bought was like $600 and some change. The first time I did it was $700. So I realized I was able to talk my way into better deals the last two times. But so that means if it was $315 for two tires, it's probably gonna cost about $630, somewhere in there, which is about right with the last set that I got. So altogether, I spent, you can round it up to $490, but I believe the exact number be somewhere is about the $489. So about $490. I may even give you $500 just for two tires and a new jack stand. Now, the other thing about having a jack stand, the jack that I got, you're not dealing with the little rinky-dink one that usually comes with the manufacturer. This is the jacks that I got. Those are the ones that you see the guys at the shop use, outside of the true hydraulic lifts that you have in the garages. These are the ones that you use, and the only problem is that they're heavy. And I have a lot of respect for the jackmen on the NASCAR crews. They are probably your best athletes on the track because they're having to lug 70, I want to say it's like 70, 75 pounds on both sides of the car, and they're having to hit that jack fast. They're big, they're strong, they're fast. I got a lot of respect for those guys. If you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer or in any other segment, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below.